back with Andreas Katzourakis. I said that right?
Yep,
I didn't used to say it right.
you do now. Though.
And so do your opponents too. So let me know where we at. Where are we at?
We're at Catch Coffee.
Uh-huh.
It's a brewery here in Houston.
Uh-huh.
They make coffee, next level. They do blends, everything you can imagine. They're distributing nationwide, if I'm not mistaken. And it's the best spot to be.
Okay. So this is a supporter of yours.
Yes, a great friend of mine and a supporter of mine.
So that's good. So clearly you're being supported throughout the city in which you are here. And I guess that's imperative because you are, as they say before the fights, the fighting pride of Athens, Greece, correct?
Yes.
So tell me about growing up there.
Growing up in Athens was, like every kid, normal kid, I think back home, I was on the suburbs, nice, easy, nothing special. I've been in the sports and in martial arts world since I was a kid. Like I grew up into the sports. Both of my parents were into sports and into martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
They were both into kickboxing, so that was a very easy path for me to go. I don't think they ever imagined that I would be a professional because that's not a path that you take when you're in Greece. In Greece,
amateur is the best way?
Yes. And whatever you do in any sport you compete, of course you can become an amateur athlete.
Sure.
And, compete for championships and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think people that their sport is not basketball or soccer, like you say here, because back home we say football.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can see a professional, a way to be a professional out of that. Everything else is amateur. Unfortunately, back home, that's what we pay attention to. I think there is a way to make some money here and there out of some local sponsors and maybe some events, but there's not a way to really make a living out of it.
So back home, when you grew up, were you a good kid?
Yeah, I was, a little troublemaker. Every kid is a little troublemaker.
Okay,
yeah.
Because you found your way into boxing, or like you say, you did combat sports. Period. Most kids here, they get put into combat sports when their parents looking for somebody to beat them up.
So, I don't think that was the case.
Yeah.
I was a troublemaker since I was a kid,
Uh-huh.
and it's funny. Like I think 2-3 years old, when I got into πώς είναι ο βρεφονιπιακός? Let me do some translation here.
Yeah.
Nursery.
A nursery?
Kindergarten, nursery. Yeah, when I was 2 years old, and because I was the youngest kid there, I had to prove myself. So I chose the biggest kid and started fighting. And every day it was the same thing. So I guess at a young age, I had this, urge to...
You've been proving yourself since you was 3.
Yes, two against 3-year-olds. So yeah.
So growing up, you got proving yourself since you're 3. Combat sports is a typical thing. Where does, in your mind, I'm going to be a boxer? Not necessarily professional, but boxer.
So I started competing in kickboxing when I was 5 years old.
Okay.
I had my first international European championship when I was 8.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been competing every year internationally. Like I was taking 4 trips per year to go in international competitions. I was getting the podium every time, if not first. So I was always extremely competitive, and I was always at the highest level of the sport. I transitioned to boxing when I was 14 years old, 14 to 15. The moment I did a boxing sparring, like I saw in front of me a couple of people sparring, boxing. They weren't professionals, they weren't even amateurs, like they were amateurs back in the day.
It was just boxing.
And they were just boxing, it was beautiful. What I saw in front of me was just beautiful. I'm like, that's what I want to do. I never kicked again in my life. After 3 months, I won the first national title. Mm-hmm. And from then on, the rest is history.
So there was nobody physically that walked you into a gym and said, you want to do it?
In Greece, the thing is, the kickboxing is huge. It's a huge community. Because we had Mike Zambidis, who was a huge athlete for us. Mm-hmm. And in every gym, you're going to do multiple stuff. You'll do kickboxing, you'll do boxing. Nowadays, you'll do MMA. So you don't really have to walk in a different gym to do boxing. In the gym that I was, I just transitioned to boxing. And later on, I changed the gym purely about boxing.
So you're 14, you're walking into boxing. I'm assuming you were standing out?
I will say so because the thing with Greece, as I told you, is the level in boxing wasn't huge. the level in boxing is low because we're not a boxing country.
It takes other sports more serious.
Yes, but we were a kickboxing country because of the guy that I told you before, because of
Sure.
Mike Zambidis. So I had hundreds of amateur fights. And when I say hundreds, I mean on the high number. And the kids that were fighting boxing, they had like what?
A handful.
10, 20, 30
Yeah.
at the age of 14, 15. So it wasn't really a match. It was a huge mismatch between me and them. Even though I just started boxing, practicing boxing, I already had an experience of like 4, 5, 600 amateur fights.
So you're an amateur, but you came in with some experience more so than your contemporary in the new sport that
Yes.
you're in.
Yes.
So, okay, I'm not going to pretend like we're not in the States, let alone Houston. What got you to say it's there?
The moment that I decided to become professional, which was, I think it really got in my mind when I was 16. I'm like, that's what I want to do. I was still studying, I was still want to go to college and everything, but I think me being a professional athlete in the sport of boxing became very clear in my mind, and I knew that's the only way. I mean, there is nothing in Greece.
Mm-hmm.
There are some other countries in Europe that you can go become professional, like Germany, Italy, of course, UK, and other countries, but I mean, there's no comparison between US and the rest of the world in this aspect.
Uh-huh.
So I thought that's the only way for me to come here.
So you didn't come straight to Houston?
No, I went first to LA. I talked to some people there. I stayed to LA for about 2.5 years. Then I moved to Big Bear.
Were you actively
Yes,
building your craft?
I was 4-0 when I was in LA.
Who were you working with there?
It's not a boxing person, so it's not someone that you will know.
Got you.
It was a Greek guy that was there, and it was a nice situation in terms of like friendship and everything, but it was miscommunicated in terms of training. It wasn't the right spot for me. I didn't see any development there, so I decided to break the contract, break off from them.
Okay.
When I was 4-0, it took me about 4 to 8 months to finish with the situation, and then Split the Boxing text me a message and we got in contact. Very briefly, I think from the moment we started talking, in the next 3-4 days, we had already signed the contract. We had already discussed about it.
Moved quick.
Yes. I mean, I think, I don't want to exaggerate, but the moment I talked with Brendan was in Split at the time.
Brendan Siegels.
Yes. We talked the phone, we hung up. 30 minutes later, I think we talked with Dave too, Dave McWater.
Dave McWater.
And I had the contract with my hand like within the next 2 hours.
I
saw it with my people. We made just a few very, very slight changes and we were signed.
So that's still in California?
I was back home at the time.
Okay.
Because those 4 to 6 months I was back home.
Went back home?
Yes, back home in Greece.
Okay.
And when we signed with them, we were seeing all our options in terms of who I'm going to train with once I get to the US, because the only thing I asked is housing and the best coach I can find, because that's what I was missing before.
Got you.
I was missing someone that will take me to the next level.
Got you.
So I say that's the only thing I want. I don't want no money, I don't want nothing. I just want to be able to stay there, live out of what you give me, and train.
And get better.
Yes. And they provide me a handful of coaches, and we decided to go with Abel Sanchez, who was the big bear at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And he had also, it was very easy in terms of logistics as well, because you stay in the gym basically.
Sure.
So they don't have to worry about renting a house, getting a car, none of that.
It's all
and also,
got you.
I mean, I love Golovkin, I love his style, I love Abel Sanchez.
So while you were there, you worked with Golovkin?
No, he had just left. I think it was like probably the split like, 8 months, a year before that.
At that point, what do you think of a guy like Golovkin?
He's one of my favorite fighters. And back then, I mean, he wasn't at his highest. It was when, the curve started happening.
Sure.
But again, it's Golovkin, so.
What do you like about him?
I love the way he's pressuring and he's applying pressure during the fight, the way he's breaking down his opponents.
Psychological pressure.
Yes, because he's always there. Like, I feel some people misunderstand. They take Golovkin only for like a brawler or something like that, but he's not really. He's a great boxer. Like, he's there, but he's not there at the same time. He's
an underrated jab as well.
Best jab in the game. Best jab in the game. In the middle division for sure when he was active.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were able. How long were you with Abel?
I was with Abel for about a year. I stayed in Big Bear.
Mm-hmm.
Then he retired. And when we started discussing, I stayed in LA for an extra month until we figured out what I'm going to do from there. They offered me like a handful of coaches. Everybody's great. Like I would love to work with every one of these coaches that they offered me. Ronnie Shields wasn't one of the coaches because they never worked with Ronnie Shields before. They never had a fighter with him, so it wasn't an active relationship.
Okay.
But I was looking around and I've done my homework and I love boxing, so I know about the coaches. Yeah. And they said, well, I want to work with Ronnie Shields. And they say, yes, but Ronnie Shields is not really an option. We don't have a connection with him. I say, you are split T boxing. You just won Manager of the Year. I mean, make the connection.
You can make it happen.
Yes. So they did. They sent him some clips of mine, who I am, a resume. And Ronnie said he would love to meet me. Come down for a couple of weeks, see if it works out.
Okay.
We've done one training together, and it worked out.
I talked to Ronnie before, and I asked him what he thought about you. And Ronnie said, out of all the fighters that I work with currently, he's the one fighter I never have to worry about. I look at Ronnie as a Hall of Fame coach, Ronnie Shields. And to get that kind of high praise from a guy like that says a lot about you.
Yeah, it means a lot.
Yeah, I mean, he says, oh, man, this guy, he keeps everybody else in line for me. And I said, wow. And then I said, when you get Andreas, how do you approach him as a coach? Is there a coaching style? And he says, no. He says, my style is whatever his style is.
Yeah.
He said, I may take bad things out, keep everything good, and work that way. So you work with Abel Sanchez and Ronnie Shields. What's the difference?
The difference is, and what I loved in Ronnie is that I loved working with Abel too. I mean, I don't want to get No,
just to compare, contrast.
It was an amazing year. But Abel, he wanted you to work a certain way. And he had his way, and that's what you had to do. Which was pretty similar to my style. So I didn't have a problem staying in his route. But it didn't involve any movement and other stuff. He would train you to be a perfect war machine, let's say. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Be a tough guy that can take it for 12 rounds and that can give it for 12 rounds. And you will be the better conditioned, stronger, and more willing to win. That's what Abel would give you. When I went to Ronnie, it's what you said. Ronnie is going to let you do your style, do your thing. And he has many different fighters at the gym.
Sure, with different
styles. And everybody has its own style. Ronnie will give you some pointers and some tips, and you will evolve every fight with him, because every fight he will work on you, on your opponent, and what you have to do to win. And every fight he will give you something extra and something extra and something extra. And of course, when you have something bad, he will take it out of there in the beginning. So we're not talking about that. But it's great how he works on the details, but he will let you develop your own style.
So being that you, what number of fight were you on when you got to Ronnie?
I was 6-0.
6-0 when you arrived?
Yeah, I had 4 fights in LA, 1 fight while I was in Greece. I mean, I fought in Miami, but I was training in Greece, and 1 fight with Abel.
What is the difference between Andreas at up to 5 fights, then goes 6 to where you are now? I'm not saying necessarily coaching, your mentality, your physicality. What's the difference between the development from there to there? Because, I mean, you've changed gyms or coaches, you've come here, you're looking for ways to build yourself. So what is the difference in you now than then?
So I think I'm improving every fight. And I mean, I think we have to improve every fight.
Yeah.
I think there's been a huge difference between Andreas 4-0 and every other fight after that. Because the first 4 fights, as I told you, I wasn't working with a coach that really knew boxing, knew the craft, and knew how to develop me. So I feel like I was kind of flat those 4 fights. Again, because of my experience and how much I was willing to learn, I would develop a little bit. But once I got with Abel, we developed greatly the 1 year we're together. And when I got with Ronnie, I mean, it
took off.
It's a different game. Not only because of how we work together, but also all the guys that we have at the gym. I mean, sparring Jermal, having Morel at the gym, having all these other guys working together.
Well, working with Jamal, Charlo, how has that affected your development?
It was great in terms of experience. I don't think he gave me something in terms of motivating me or anything because I was motivated enough on my own.
Sure.
Of course, working with a world champion and knowing how long he's been in the game, you love being around and working with him. But I mean, I know what I'm going to do in the sport and I was already motivated enough. But the fact that you are working with a world champion day in and day out and you're sparring all the time and you see what you can do as well, it definitely gives you a mentally booster.
When you have a world champion in front of you and you're currently not a world champion, do you start looking at things that made them a world champion that you can add to yourself, or you just figure out your own road that's going to be fit for you to get to that point?
I'm a pretty disciplined guy, so I think I already have my way, and I know how I'm gonna get there. The things that I look at most, not for Germany in particular, but
Sure.
From all the world champions, all the greats, and everything, is I'm gonna try and find what they didn't do right
Gotcha.
and why they could have done better.
Why
Because I
this
think
didn't work?
yes, because I think you learn way more stuff from mistakes
Yes,
than
the
from
success.
things, yes, than success.
Sure.
So of course you will absorb the things that they did right, and you will see like, okay, he's doing that many workouts per day, he's doing that in the morning, that in the evening, he's doing this, he's doing that, but you will try to notice the mistakes as well, so you don't follow on the same footsteps only on the mistakes.
So you never worked with David Moreau, have you?
No, we've never sparred.
But you've watched him
Yeah.
grow.
I mean, yeah.
Because you guys are roughly around the same number. You have what, 12?
I'm 12, yeah.
And he has what, 10?
He has them, but I mean,
He's WBA
a
regular
better
champion.
quality than, a better quality than.
So your last camp, you worked with Marquise Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
How was that?
I mean, we've been working with Marquise for a long time, I think.
How long?
I don't want to put a year in mind,
Some
but
time though.
for sure, 4 or 5 fights now we've been working with Marquise. Almost since the beginning that I went with Ronnie. The last camp and I think another camp were 2 times that we really worked in terms of like how many times we sparred and how much time we worked throughout the camp, and it's been amazing. I mean,
I'm
it's
bringing him
great
up
work.
because he's a guy that's highly avoided. I know you just
Yeah.
found this out apparently, but he's highly avoided in the ring, and I've witnessed it that people avoid sparring him.
Yeah.
And for you to take him on as a partner, whether it be just recently or years, as you say, I can only say that's kudos to you, because I watch guys that are on television every fight not want to work with him.
So I'll tell you this. I told with Marquise too, and I mean, I've been saying around that I understand why he's been avoided in fights.
Why?
He has a very unique style,
Very accustomed to him.
very unique style that he's very smart. He really knows how to work on his style, how to take your power away from you. So I can understand that many fighters don't wanna work with that.
I mean, a guy
Because-
with one knockout.
Yes, but I'll tell you this. Tell me another guy. I'm fighting Marquise. Give me a guy that I'm gonna spar
To prepare for that,
to prepare for Marquise.
you have to get like a mugger or a burglar
You can
that you can't get off of you. You know.
yeah, you can think of someone out of your mind.
Yeah.
So I understand why people avoid him in the ring. I hope they're not, and I hope he gets his chances because he really deserves it. He's a top fighter.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why people don't want to spar him, because it's amazing work.
Yes, it is.
It's amazing work. You know what I mean? Like I've been telling him every time we spar. After that, we go 6, 8 rounds hard. It's amazing work because he's there, I am there, and I mean it's on our benefits. So I don't understand why people don't spar him. I understand why people don't fight him. Though.
So I was there at the last fight. I'm sure a lot of people saw it against Corey Cad.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like working with Marquise to fighting him is like overkill.
Yeah, we exchanged some messages with Marquise afterwards.
Yeah, yeah.
I think working with Marquise, for him working with me and for me working with him, I think it's overkill for many fights, but for that fight it was definitely overkill.
So that fight I watched, and how do you feel coming into that fight? You know, I like to take a look at the fighter as he approaches the ring, as they're giving him all these props, and before, you know, undefeated,
Yeah.
and, you know, all of this stuff. And I watch you, and the person I'm sitting next to, it's a regular guy. But when I look at you before the fight, you look possessed. You look like this is the moment.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take this guy's head off. How do you get into that mind or that mode after being such a easygoing guy away from it?
I don't know, to be honest.
That's a good answer.
I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah.
It happens. It happens at that moment.
Absolutely.
Like, people say that after the weigh-ins or when they're at the locker room, something changes, or like fight week. For me, it's at that moment. Like, even when I'm at the locker rooms, hitting the pads, warming up, making my hands, everything. I'm nice, cool, calm, collected.
Mm-hmm.
But when that time comes to walk down, towards the ring, it's just, it's absorb all the energy, and I just love the process. I love that moment because, I've been working for that moment all this time.
Mm-hmm.
And when I get in the ring, it's just time. It's just something snaps, and it's just time for me to work.
So, I do know this, I guess, but I don't know. Are you, if you could even speak on it, are you officially going toward the OTX side of things?
I can definitely say that we're
Okay.
working together. Yeah, we're working with overtime, and we're gonna have some big things happen in 24.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say what's gonna happen in 24 because I don't know exactly how they're gonna approach things. I know what they're gonna do and what we're gonna do, and it's going to be a thing.
I don't know what we're gonna do, but I know what we're gonna do.
I know in terms of like activity and everything.
Yeah.
But they've been telling me they have some pretty big things in mind, which they don't share with me.
I know a name that you kept calling for. I won't say it because respect to how you feel, but I would love to see you get that fight.
It's not so. There are many names around that I would love to fight, and that guy is. I don't have a problem saying. It's
I don't either.
Yeah, it's Vlad Hernandez.
Yeah, Vladimir Hernandez.
Yeah. It's not that I've been calling him out because I don't like him or anything like that.
No,
it's because I do. Like, August 25th, I fought co-main event OTX, and he was the main event in OTX.
Yeah, he beat Truck Simpson.
He beat Truck Simpson.
Yes.
And he beat Williams, J-Rock.
He beat Julian Williams.
He beat J-Rock. He beat another guy that was a contender. I don't remember the name now.
He beat a few guys.
He lost his last fight from Troy Isley, but it was a very close fight.
Very close.
All judges scored 5-3, and it was an 8-rounder. And if it had a couple more rounds,
it may have been different.
Yes, it may have been different.
Can you say that? I guess at this point, he may be more of a 10 to 12 round guy.
He's definitely a 10-round guy. He's definitely a 10-round guy.
Yeah.
Maybe a 12. So that's why I would love to fight him, because he's someone with great experience, with great wins. I think with my style and what I bring to the table, I will be able to stop him. And I think that's going to be a very interesting fight.
Why are you so confident in a stoppage? Not just I can win, I'll stop him.
Because I know what I bring to the table. I know what he brings to the table too. I know we're going to meet in the middle of the ring. And
I know he's not going to go backwards.
He's going to go down though.
Hey, I'm with that. I want that. I want to see it.
Yeah.
But
of course, no ill feelings or anything.
Yeah.
I really like him as a person too. I've seen him.
Have a respect for him.
Yes, it's respectful, and I would love to.
I wish other fighters approached it that way. See, this is a different vibe that you're saying, oh, I want to fight that guy, not because he makes me sick or I can't stand his face or anything like that.
Yeah.
Is hey man, I like him, he's good, and I want to fight him.
Yeah.
That is was missing from today. Normally, guys have to get up for fights because a guy didn't mention him or mentioned him the wrong way on Twitter or, like silly stuff. So, when I see that, I got to compliment it. So I think you told me May 31st, somewhere in August and December, maybe?
That's what we're thinking.
Yeah.
I think May 31st is pretty solid. I don't think it has been announced yet. So we're not sure. I think it's pretty solid. And we go from there.
So I know we're not psychics here, but 4 years, 5 years, where is Andreas Katzourakis in the sport of boxing?
1 year from now, I'll tell you where I will be.
Yeah.
1 year from now.
Talk your talk, man. Talk that talk. 1 year.
Yeah. So 1 year from now.
1 year, not 5. What?
I want to be fighting for a world title. I think
At what division?
154.
Okay.
1 year from now, I think we can do it. I think we can make it happen. So 25, we're at the world title stage. Of course, we're talking like everything goes the way it's supposed to go. So 25, we're getting the world title. We keep doing our thing. 4 years from now, I will be for sure at 160. I'm not gonna be 4 years from now at
I
154.
was gonna ask you how long can you stay at 54?
Uh, enough to become world champion.
I got that.
Yes, enough to become world champion. Maybe a couple defenses, and then moving up to 160. Uh, getting the title there, 2 division world champ, and who knows what we do from there. But you know, it's down the line, one step at a time. I don't wanna talk a lot.
Let me ask you this. I've seen there were fights where Ronnie couldn't make it due to health or whatever. But who was Latravia Pierce?
Latravia Pierce is Ronnie's assistant coach. So I'll tell you this: when we got to Atlanta for the overtime fight, which was my first televised fight,
Yes.
we went all together as a group. Tuesday, Wednesday, Ronnie gets COVID,
Yes.
and we still trying to figure out if he's gonna be able to work my corner or anything. I didn't even try to test because if I test positive, the fight is over.
Sure.
So I didn't even try that. But no time during that process, I felt bad in my mind that Ron is not gonna be there. Of course, you would love your head coach to be there.
Sure.
But I had plenty of trust to Trevia to pull out the job. And my manager called me after Ronnie got COVID and he said, how are you feeling? Like, are you good? And how are you feeling that Ronnie's not gonna be in the corner? And knowing that Trevia is gonna be here, I was fine.
What makes you so secure or confident in Latravia?
2 things. First, I'm confident on my work and my ability to do what I have to do in the fight because we already done all the preparation. We've already done what we have to do, and now it's only that the hard part is over. Now it's fight time, and knowing Trevia, like all these years, she's been next to Ronnie. She's been absorbing all the knowledge, and she's there. Like she loves what she's doing. And she's developing every fight, every month, and it's just a great process to witness. And I have plenty of trust in her. She's been on my coach as a head coach the last 2 fights.
Yes.
Yeah, it's nice, man.
Eventually, I think she's going to become a very big deal.
I think so too. I mean, for us, she already is, but I think the boxing world will notice her for sure in the next years.
Absolutely, it's not been somebody like Ann Wolf that make that kind of impact.
Yeah.
You familiar with Ann Wolf?
I think, yes, James Kirkland, I mean, we talked about it too.
Yes.
And, the fight, I became aware of her on his fight against Canelo.
Sure.
But I think the difference with Trevia is that she's lucky enough to be also at a time that in our sport, women take more
initiative?
Not only more initiative, but more eyes.
Sure.
And being next to Ronnie and being as good as she is, and working with all the young talent that she's working with, I think it's going to be amazing.
The unique thing about her is that she didn't just show up as a coach. She's been working with him since she was a fighter.
Yeah.
And that means she sees your shoes, that she's been there in your shoes, and then she sees it from his vantage point as well.
Yes.
So, I just want to make sure we highlight her, considering that she's been in your corner as the head coach for the last 2. Right?
Yeah.
So hopefully, Ronnie makes his way back, but you've been in great hands, you know. So what do you do away from boxing to be Andreas? Not the guy that's beating people up and knocking people out, you come to Cats and have some tea. I mean, what do you do away from the sport?
I'm very, very connected to the sport.
I know.
Because even when I'm off, I can't really stay away from the gym. It's hard for me. I mean, I'm here in Houston. What else am I gonna do? It's my job.
Right.
So I'm gonna stay at the gym. But other than that, I will go out, eat, have a coffee, and regular stuff. I'm not a huge party guy. So
if you don't have a fight coming up, what are you gonna eat? They're like, oh man.
I'm a big dessert guy. I'm a huge dessert guy.
So this big strong guy likes ice cream.
everything. Ice cream, donuts, cookies, you name it, I like it. But I have to contain myself at sometimes. I'm lucky, and I not lucky. I'm happy that I'm as disciplined as I am because if I wasn't, I would be a cruiserweight.
Mm. Man, Andreas, we ain't gonna hold you up no longer. This was amazing. I think you're somebody that is rising like a meteor throughout the sport, and it won't be very long till everybody is very aware of what you offer the
Thank
sport.
you.
I think your mentality can easily be studied by up and coming guys, considering you are considered up and coming, but I think you have a more of a veteran approach to what you're doing. You're not just showing up trying to get lucky. You
Yeah,
actually putting the work in.
yeah,
So we want to thank Katz Coffee Brewery
yep.
and Andreas Katzourakis.
Thank you for having me.
You know what?